Thank you for listening to We Speak Dispatch, sponsored by your friends at Watson Consoles.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch. Because if we're speaking dispatch, we're speaking it to you. Hey, you over there, we're speaking it right to you. If you're in the dispatch center, we're speaking right to you. So it's important to get that thing out there.
Morning. What if it's not morning?
Well, it could be morning. It could be morning every day. It's just, it depends on what shift you're on.
Morning
If you're on
somewhere.
Graveyard, morning could be, who knows?
That's right.
what time
Like
could be.
it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. It's always morning for someone.
Exactly.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly, everybody. So, and hey, look, we have our special guest with us today. We'll get to her in just a moment, but we have Leslie and Jill with us today. So, Leslie and Jill, hello, you two. Are you guys ready for this
Hello.
exciting episode we got going
Absolutely
on?
ready. Can't
I'm
wait.
excited to hear it.
Man,
Yeah.
we're excited to have Dawn Shumway with us. Dawn, I want you to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into your awesome topic. So, go ahead.
Oh, well, I am the communications manager over Ada County Dispatch in Idaho. We're based in Meridian, but we do all of Ada County, which is Boise, for those who don't know. And I wear my Idaho earrings. This is my potato and my state.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, and I'm the APCO NINA president for Idaho. I also teach in public safety, both with like Denise Amberly Foundation, with the 911 Wonder Woman workshops. You'll see me sometimes at APCO and NINA, and then I also am the assistant producer with the Within the Trenches podcast with Ricardo. So yes,
You really need to get some kind of job because you don't really have enough.
I
so,
know.
like,
Like,
not
honestly,
about fast food.
yeah, I'm impressed that I can like maintain time to feed on the things I'm supposed to keep alive at home. So
I hope you mean
Impressive.
kids or animals or something. A combination.
Yeah.
You're only required by law to feed 5 of them. So
yeah, there you go.
Wow. Okay. So, hey, you know what? Today you've got a great topic that's going to be probably hitting everybody out there. So, we're all kind of part of this thing out there. So, tell us a little about your topic, and we're going to start asking you questions out there. So, what you got?
Yeah, so my topic is one of my favorite accomplishments that I've personally had in public safety, like outside of calls, which is creating these zero suicide kits. I ended up getting a $5,000 grant, and I was able to create 1,000 zero suicide kits.
Wow.
To be able to help our communities. And so I did that in Utah, and I'm just like, we are just getting started here in Idaho, and it's something that's so great. And especially as we enter in the summer, this is a perfect time to get started about it, because we can reach out to our communities, kids, like who are especially, everybody has some type of connection to suicide, unfortunately. And so it's just such a great draw to just unite public safety and our communities together, and also dispatch, and give us an opportunity to do something together. And then it's something that we can even do on the floor. Like, I mean, think of, instead of crocheting or doing maybe reading books, you could stuff these bags. It's just a really nice, it's both healing and opportunity to do a service project that's not just food drive or giving blood. All those are good too.
Okay. All right.
So, I'm curious. How did this come about? How'd you come up with this?
Oh, so we ended up taking a call. Well, I took this call. So I took a call of a young adult female who their family had called, and they said, we can't get a hold of her. She's not answering our texts or calls or anything. So we're worried about her. They were like, we went to her house. She didn't answer, but she never said she was suicidal or anything like that. And as an adult, you can, tell the world to FO, and just be, gone. And so she was still alive. We ended up going to her house. We knocked on her door, no answer. So the officer left a business card. We called her phone, no answer. So we left a voicemail, and that was it. Calls cleared, right? But 2 days after that, she killed herself. And when I took that call, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is that same girl. Like we were just there. And so it really bothered me, just especially because like internally, like my own internal story, because I, like, for those who don't know, like I almost took my own life once. And so when I talk about it, so if you guys ever need like a overcoming adversity class, like reach out. But I'm very vocal about it. And so I had a speed bump in my suicide path. And so I was like, what if we could replicate that for other people? Because that's why I'm here today. So for me, I was like, what if we could give something more? Like a business card is so, I mean, you guys know this is so impersonal. You're just a number. And so each of these kits has a handwritten note. Like it's so personal. And it's kind of cool, everything that we put in it. And I end up getting a grant because like our police department, like we're broke, right? Everybody's getting defunded.
Yeah.
So I went to someone who was close to the issue, And I went to like our behavioral community and I just said, hey, I have this idea. I want to make these anti-suicide kits. And they were like, well, let's rename those. And that's they were the brains behind the name, like that. Let's make them zero suicide kits. And then they're like, here's this grant, and I was like, do I need a sign for that? Like,
Yeah.
but they just gave it. I felt like I was stealing. Like they just give me this. So, and we were able to do so much with it. And then hearing these success stories that came out of it. So, for instance, take that same call. Now, instead of an officer leaving a business card, they're going to leave this kit. And
Well, let's
so
hear about the kit. What is in the kit?
Yeah,
What's it look like?
What's in it? Besides
I have a
the
question.
handwritten note. I mean, I'm sorry, Joe. That handwritten note in and of itself.
yeah.
My God, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so each one has a handwritten note. We wrote this one on the booklet itself, and this is just an adult coloring book. So it's just a coloring book. And then we have this one we
Can you
actually
show
got-
us what the note said? I didn't catch it. Is
Oh,
it
yeah,
something
sorry.
personal or?
Oh no, it just says, hey there, we are here if you need us. Give us a call. Your friends at
Oh,
and this
wow.
one was for Davis Behavioral. And then also listed the right number, because dispatch, we can't really always, we don't have the time to talk to people who just need someone to talk to. So it was also a dual lift. It lifted when people don't know who to call.
Ah.
I think the statistic, I don't know the exact number, but when the Davis Behavioral Health, they were telling us, they're like, yeah, 80%-ish more of people who kill themselves never even they never even sought help. So somehow we have to bridge that gap where people aren't reaching them, and in public safety, we actually are touching those people.
Right.
I mean, hopefully not like touching,
If you're putting the kits together, are you going through like the county health department and your police departments? Is that where they're going?
Well, so after we create these kits, then we put them in the patrol cars. So then that way, it
wow.
has stuff that's not going to melt, so that way it can withstand heat. I haven't tested it in Las Vegas though. So we had like things like Jolly Ranchers and Lifesavers. We have to like do some research for them. But then we got Carbine to donate these. Look how cute. It says every person counts.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
It's just a little booklet. And then there's everything from and these were all donations. Some of our donations helped us supplement, but like we have a gun safe lock. And that may sound weird, like, well, if they're going to do it, they'll just take off the lock. But anytime there's more steps to do something, someone's
Right.
less likely to do it. That's why I don't go to the gym, because that's a lot of steps. So, and then we have there's coloring pencils.
Oh, I thought it was cigarettes. I was like, wow.
Oh yeah. Well, we could do that. This is tea. Yeah.
Oh.
And then like a magnet for the resources. And
So
then
is each bag different just depending on whatever resources you have?
yeah. And because these ones are run thin. Like we used to have we would have more so we could staff it a little further. This one is geared to kids. We did do this already for Idaho. This one was great. So at the middle schools, we actually placed these inside the schools so kids could grab them and give them to peers because they hear, they talk, they know, so they can
wow.
disperse them amongst themselves. No questions, just help yourself and grab a bag.
Wow.
Wow. That's
So it
powerful.
says,
Jeez.
here's an eraser to remind you that it's okay to make mistakes. And this bookmark is to show you that you always have a place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so then it's actual stuff so on the kids one, it includes this booklet because it's also useful for school. And then that ruler, pencil, and bookmark, not ruler. So the bookmark and the eraser and a pencil.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then we have the opportunity to just get the conversation talking. I love that mental health is talked about, but suicide still isn't talked about it's still oof,
Yeah.
there's still that on it.
Where a lot of people don't want to talk about it. I mean, they're kind of it's just a difficult topic to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And many of us have had those kind of calls, and you're kind of like, I don't want to relive it or think about it or anything like that. But man, when I see that kind of stuff, that's what I'm talking about. When I see dispatchers do cool stuff like that, that's freaking A. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do the officers think about leaving it? Like, what do they think? What is their opinion?
Well, so first the officers, they're like, whoa, do I have to do a report on this? And we're like, no report. And once they knew there was no report, they're like, okay, fine. Isn't that kind of funny? They were like paperwork, so
Yeah.
as long as there wasn't paperwork. So I'll tell you a success story. So one of our officers, he saw someone at the park, and you can't be there at the park after hours because it's trespassing. So he contacted her, And she was just emitting sadness. Like he was just, you know, she was just really sad. And she was just swinging on the swing all by herself. And so, you know, he ran her name for like warrants, like stuff you do as like police when you make contact. But what he ended up doing is he was like, hang on right there. I'm going to be right back. I have something for you. And he went to his trunk and he got this. And this was unique because I really didn't picture someone handing it directly to someone, but he just gave her this bag and he said, hey, I feel like you could benefit from this. And man, she just melted. And it wasn't an officer with a uniform and a badge talking to her. It was another human who saw her as a human. And for that, he came and he took a whole box of like, so we would like, oh, come get some bags. He took a whole cardboard box. He's like, I'm gonna need these. And to see him create that buy-in, you know, that was really cool. So I definitely think that you need to have like, so it's not forgotten stuffed awareness. Like you'd have to have those officers who are having those success stories be the ones who are like lighting it. Because it's one thing if I'm a dispatcher going squeaky squeak squeak, but it's somebody in their own team, and it probably does sound like that. Which I do have a funny story for you, Doug. By the way.
Oh Lord.
It's pretty funny.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Unbelievable.
Really
Wow.
great.
I mean, I can see like pushing this message out all over the place. I mean,
Why don't you do a class about this?
Well, actually, we want to do so at Western Regional. So you guys should come in Idaho. So it's May, and it's the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're actually going to have a whole booth set up. So we are dedicated to making these. So that way you can make one, take it back to your agency, show them like, let's replicate this.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's such a great idea.
Yeah. So it'll be really fun. And I do agree. A class would be great with it, but.
Yeah. And being proactive, because so often dispatchers are so great at reacting to things, but to be proactive. And like you said, instead of sitting there and doing your own thing and reading a book or, you know, scrolling the internet or something like this, to put these together and know that in a small way, you may have the ability to impact somebody's life, whether, you know, choosing to continue with life.
Oh, absolutely.
That's powerful.
And you're right. So many times officers go out and they can't make contact with the people they need to make contact with. So this gives them more than a business card to leave. You're going to open a bag and you're going to go, oh, what's in the bag, versus seeing a business card on the door, opening the door and letting it drop.
Yeah. And what we found, so many people loved it that people wanted to donate more. They were like, we want to donate. If I was to do like, because I did it this first round with the 1,000, to do it again, I would like to open it up to outside, like to our community to help us create them, because writing 1,000 notes, my hand had like 300. I was like, F this, like, you know, just because it was so hard. I was like, hand cramp, you know, so, but also to just have someone else help with that. We end up getting some volunteers because we're like, okay, we may be a bit off more than we could chew. This is a lot of notes. Like 1,000 notes is a lot. So
Don, where did you get this idea from? Did you just come up with it? What was the?
It really was. It was that call, and just because in my own life, like, so when I, like, after everything I experienced in my own life, like, so my father, he had killed my mother and my sister, and I was placed with my aunt and uncle, and then there, like, it wasn't like the Cinderella story. And then my cousin, you know, he ended up trying to sexually molest me, so I ended up running away. I mean, and all of this just compounded. And then I got hit by a car and I had to have brain surgery. I was life lighted. And after all this, I got this bottle of OxyContin and I'm at the hospital and I'm just like, you know what? I've tried. I don't know what else to do. Like, my life is destined to be this. And so I just took that bottle of OxyContin. I went to my mom and my sister's grave and I was so dead set on taking it. And like, for me, I really like to talk about how like I felt, because I think people think that it's very selfish, but like it felt so good. Like, I still remember how good it felt. Like, I felt so excited. Like I was going into a cabin, like on Christmas with all your friends there. Like, I was going home. Like, I was finally going to be like with someone who loved me and could take care of me, you know, like that whole thing. I just wanted to be that. And so when I went to go take these pills, I actually ended up getting a phone call from someone. It was actually one of my coworkers, and that was all it took. Like, I mean, they told me, they're like, I just had a really strong feeling to give you a call. and they were like, hey. So it didn't have to be like this. They didn't have anything cool to say. It just caught me so off guard because they didn't have my phone number. They had to look in the employee handbook. So, but that's how strong that feeling was for them to call me. And so I just thought like, okay, like we don't have to create like this magical miracle. We just have to let people know that they're not alone. And so I thought if we could replicate that somehow, and and if this, imagine if like one kit can stop one person, you know how worth all that would be. And everything.
Well, because I go all over the damn country and do classes and stuff like that. I mean, I would love to bring this forward and start talking about it in classes, because I could totally see people getting behind this thing and like really jumping forward, and like it's something simple but can make a huge difference. And that's a lot of the stuff I talk about in classes is stuff that don't cost much and it's pretty easy to do. But this is another thing that really has an impact on our business, and it's just to me, it's just such a good thing. I mean, I'll give you total credit, John. Don't worry. But it's
but it also it makes talking about the topic, normal, normalizing the topic a little bit. Because if you're sitting around on a shift and you're stuffing these boxes, you may not know that your partner or the trainee or somebody has this history, and now bringing it forward and having those conversations about suicide and how much that impacts so many people. That's like you talked about. It's that topic that really is still kind of in the shadows, and this is bringing it out in a way that gives people an opportunity to do something about it, and then potentially share their own stories.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a big thing. I'm just like, that's why I'm like, did you come up with this idea? Because damn, Dawn, that's impressive as hell. So
that's why really it became one of like, it was really special. Like it was special and personal to me, like to be able to create this movement, and so I just really, and even just that one success story, like from the one officer, I was like, man, I love that. I loved it at that night. And I mean, I was sad for her being sad, but like, it was a core memory for her and him. Like the way that the next day, he couldn't wait to tell me, like first shift, and so just like I could see the impact, like I could physically see the impact it was making. So that was really cool. And also, interesting story, all the kits that we made at one of the junior high schools, they requested more. Wow. So I was like, there's a huge need. There's a huge need. And it really is also like on our floor in dispatch, think of how many times we make jokes, right? Sure. And so it makes your partner feel like if they're the ones who are dealing with it, like what you're saying, Leslie, they may not come forward or say something. Right. And when we're having these gallow humor like conversations going on, but when we have this, I think it's going to create the environment it's going to help public safety too.
Yeah,
I love it.
I mean, it's just such an easy idea, but it's so great. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Can you send us a picture of your kits and then we can pop them into the video?
Yeah, like what's in them, and then we can totally put it up on the video. And Dawn, if you want us, we'll list your email address out there so everybody can get a hold of you and say, wow, how do we get started on this darn thing? Because I really think this is something that should be pushed out like all over the damn place. It's such a great idea.
Right. So Dawn, you said you had a funny story. Is there a funny story?
So in Texas, Doug, I don't know if you remember, you told me this, but you I was talking to him, and sometimes I can be excited and talk really loud and nobody understands me. And so I can't remember if you told me I needed an interpreter or a speech therapist, but you were joking around and you had mentioned something like that. So anyways, so then like a week later, I was hosting interviews and I was interviewing a new candidate, and we have these scripted questions, and it was our recording specialist. So we only have one of those, so we don't do that interview as often. And so it was my first time reading these set of questions. And one of the questions, it said, tell us about a strained incident that you had with a coworker or a supervisor. So because I talk so fast, the person thought I said strange. And so the person who was hosting the interviews with me totally knew it sounded like I said strange, but just like sat back and was like, this is going to be good. Yeah. So this poor candidate, she's like, okay. And she tells me this strangest, wildest story about a cat and a coworker. I was like,
oh my God.
And I'm confused, and I'm even asking, like, are we talking about a cat? And she's like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay. So I'm like buckling in, like, where are we going with this? And anyway, she ends up leaving the interview and stuff, and I'm still like, we've asked other questions. My mind is still wrapped up. I'm like, what happened? And so my coworker, she starts laughing. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what the hell was that all about? And she starts laughing, and she's like, she thought you said strange. I'm like, well, who wrote these stupid questions? And she's like, well, I did. But it was so funny. I'm like, I have to get this teacher. Yeah. So I can't imagine this poor girl. She probably went home and was like, oh my God, they asked me the weirdest interview ever. Yes. And now I'm like this story that will live on and on and on because I didn't have a speech therapist.
Did she at least get the job?
No.
Of course not. She's doing weird things with a cat.
I gave her full points for that question.
Yeah.
Points.
For sure.
Yeah, she was really great. I recommended her for like our agency at a different position, but yeah.
Animal control. But wow.
She can handle strange calls.
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, we definitely appreciate you coming by today because, man, that was a good topic. And I am hoping we push this message out all over the country and get a lot of people involved in this thing. I think it's such a great movement, and you'll be responsible for it. And so when the lawsuits happen, it'll be all about you. So
probably.
But other than that, we're so happy to have you. And you know what? We got our stats not too long ago, and I think we're up to like, 22,000 podcast plays in over 40 some odd countries. So we're all over the place. So we hope everybody's listening right now is telling your friends about our podcast and our broadcast. You can see us or listen to us on your break or whatever you need out there. But until next time, everybody, thanks, Dawn, for coming by. Thanks, Leslie and Jill, coming by. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the day.
Thank you for listening to We Speak Dispatch, sponsored by your friends at Watson Consoles.